Hi everyone, Jennifer here with Bella TV, and I am sitting with Lady Melissa Percy, or just Missy as she likes to be called. And this is an exciting segment today because not only are we sitting with English royalty, but also a very successful clothing designer, a former pro tennis player. So I'm really excited to sit and get to know Missy a little bit more from what I already have gotten to.
So I'm Missy. I've just moved over to America from England. We lived in a wonderful farmhouse till I was 8 years old in Northumberland, the north of England. And it's the most northern county before you hit Scotland. When my uncle died, my father inherited and became Duke of Northumberland. So we all moved. I have 3 siblings, 1 sister and 2 brothers, and we all moved into this castle, which is the most beautiful castle. It's second biggest inhabited in England, but also by far the most homely from what I can see. But it wasn't like that at the beginning. In my grandparents' day, they used to cook a piece of ham and leave it out at 4 o'clock, knowing that they'd have dinner at 8, and they loved their vegetables cooked for 5 hours and that kind of. So when my mom came in, it was a bit of a Pretty Woman moment, and she was sitting at dinner and she was trying to saw her way through this piece of gammon that was sitting on the table, and she sort of slipped the knife and everything went all over the table, and my dad just grabbed her hand and said, "I promise you can do whatever you want with this place."
Aww.
And she really has made it a home. It's so warm and friendly, and it's not haunted, and there are dogs running around everywhere, and it's an amazing place. And feel very privileged to have grown up there. We have our own little space, our own house within the castle,
right?
Pretty much, that we stick to.
What were you initially doing when you came to the States?
I went to boarding school at 8, close to home, and then I loved it, and I got a sports scholarship to a school down south. At the time, there's no life really in field hockey in the UK, and in tennis, I'd always, as a little girl, since I was 4 years old, I'd been longing to be a tennis player, and play at Wimbledon was my dream. So my parents said, okay, well, if you want to choose tennis, then where's the best place for tennis? And, we were like, well, Florida. So they were like, well, we don't know anyone in Florida. And then we met some people at a dinner party 2 nights later who said, oh, we'll look after Missy.
Wow.
And then they became my guardians, and basically like my second parents. And I was there from 14 to 17, playing every day, about 5 hours a day. I played on the junior circuit to start off with, the ITF. And once I got into the top 100 of that, I came back to England, played junior Wimbledon, and then I trained in Thailand for a year and had a different coach, and got onto the WTA, and sort of got my world ranking, and I set myself a goal that by the time I was 21, if I wasn't top 200 in the world, then maybe it was time to start life, or different life. And at that point I was craving a normal life. And I had a huge love for cooking. And we've had a cook at home for 25 years, Gillian, who is so much part of the family. And I would always cook at home with her and chill out with her in my pajamas with the dogs and stir things. And so I went to cooking school for I actually ended up being there for a year, and I met my flatmates who I lived with in London, and just it was such a nice environment, and such a friendly atmosphere. And I learned, another sort of skill that I'm obsessed with today. In fact, I worry about how much I think about food every day. So then on to fashion, I tried to do both tennis and cooking as jobs, and I worked at a catering company for a little bit. And then, the whole sort of piping mashed potato into Yorkshire puddings, 1,000 times over, wasn't quite what I wanted to do with it.
Right.
And then I did my coaching qualifications for tennis and worked at the Queen's Club for a few years. And then I was like, they're my 2 real passions in life, and I want to keep them as that.
Right.
And every time I tried to do them as a job, it took away that love slightly.
Right.
I then went back to my roots, and I thought long and hard. I thought, what do you love? And what do you miss? And at that point I was in London, and I, spent my 20s there, and I suddenly realised how much I appreciate the countryside, not having been there. And I sort of went back completely to my roots, and I thought, I'm happiest outside, I'm happiest in the countryside, sitting on a hill, with all the dogs around me, with my family, and playing sports, and, and not really caring what you look like too much. And it was just that suddenly made me think of this clothing line, mm-hmm. because, as kids, my sister and I would always, either go out hunting or go out fishing or shooting, or just go and stand with mum and dad when they were doing all these activities. And there was nothing young, cool and fun for girls to wear.
Right.
We would either buy a small in boys' clothing, mm-hmm. Which was still hanging off us, or we'd get things made, which was incredibly expensive. Misdemeanor came out of that. It was girls who want to get involved, who want to look cool and a little bit different, but still have that traditional aspect of the attire that we wear in the countryside in England.
Yeah.
But with a bit of colour, with a little bit more style, patchwork.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're finally, so you're doing something now that you love, reminds you of home, and then Absolutely. You're still keeping up with your passions with tennis, with cooking.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I've always been a bit of a tomboy, and you can very much see that aspect in the Misdemeanor line.
Well, we're going to take a look at all of the pieces for sure. Perfect. And you're wearing one right now.
I am.
Yes.
Yeah. This is actually the Alexa jumper. So every jumper is named after a dog in our family, past or present. For example, I've just got a new little black lab called Uni, and so I've named the black Misdemeanor jumper after him. And this is the Alexa one, and Alexa is an animals charity, a dog charity, a rehoming program that we give 5% of all sweaters sold to that charity.
Oh, wow.
And it's based in Northumberland, next to home. And so this jumper was named after one of her dogs.
That's great. So where can people purchase these or follow along with you?
Well, you can already subscribe. So the website is www.misdemeanor.com, and it's spelled Mistamina. And our Instagram is Misdemeanor Official. And our logo, you'll see it is black with a red M in the middle.
That's great. Very exciting. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, telling us your
for
story.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to start seeing these on the streets in New York.
Thanks, Jennifer.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.